Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Insights. How you're doing? I'm Vince Warnock, and thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to join me here. Oh my goodness, to join me here as I talk to some of the most talented, some of the most skillful, some of the most interesting people in the industry. And I'm being very specific with my words because I'm about to introduce you to Jennifer Vella. But before I do that, you know I have a couple of quick housekeeping things. So first of all, I don't want you to miss a single episode of Chasing the Insights. So whatever platform, whatever app, whatever tool, basically however you're listening to this podcast right now, if you haven't already, see that little subscribe or follow button, give that a little push. That way you're notified every single time there's a new episode. And we do multiple episodes per week because, well, let's be honest, we just have an amazing lineup of guests, all just dying to get you content to help you move the needle for your business. Plus, speaking of good quality content, don't forget also to check out the Chasing the Insights Insider Club. Not only is it a great way to support the show, but for $10 a month, so essentially the price of 2 cups of coffee a month, you get access to something far more valuable than coffee. It is exclusive content that is going to help you to feed your mind, feed your creativity, and feed your entrepreneurship. So go check that out at chasingtheinsights.com/insider, or just go to the website. You know how websites work. There's a menu item. You click on the item and ta-da, you're magically transported to the page you need. Anyway, my friends, that is not why we are here. Oh my goodness. I am here to introduce you to Jennifer Vella. Now, Jennifer is a time optimizer, not to be mistaken with Time Lord, although I think that may be a part of it as well. She helps unconventional child-free solo business owners to find more time for what they love and to find that same adventurous feeling of freedom, intentionality, and embracing life on their terms. I'm getting tongue-tied here now. I'm too excited about the Time Lord aspect. Jennifer is a firm believer that life is an adventure to be enjoyed in the moment. Now, she wasn't naturally organized or skilled at time management, but Jennifer learned through experience by helping her neighbors declutter their offices, by owning and operating 2 coffee drive-thrus, and purging 80% of her belongings to exit an abusive relationship. Now, when Jennifer's world was in chaos, organization and time management became the control that she needed to change her life. Now, as a time optimizer, Jennifer draws from her expertise to help child-free solo business owners to find that work-life alignment and more time to do what they want. That is freedom, that is travel, try a new hobby, enjoy more sleep, whatever it is you want. Jennifer is here to help to make it happen. Oh my goodness, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Now, I'm super excited about this episode, Jennifer, because we're going to be talking about something super important, which is the concept of time boundaries and flexibility in your schedule. And I know right now, every single listener is just going, oh, hang on, I need to lean in. They need to pay attention because that's something that just about all of us fail at. And interestingly enough, I know that we're going to talk about this very shortly, but I know that you focus purely on entrepreneurs that don't have kids, but this is a concept I know that translates across all of us as well. So before we get into that topic, tell us your backstory. Tell us how you got to where you are now and why you're so passionate about what you do.
Yeah, so you kind of started it with the bio and intro, but essentially, like you said, I wasn't naturally organized. I had kind of always had a paper planner, but I never utilized it as much the potential it should have been. Right. Yeah. I didn't even use a Google Calendar or anything. But yeah, so at the time I was in an abusive relationship and I had 2 coffee drive-thrus. I was a barista and coffee shop manager in any coffee shops for over a decade before I got into this.
Yeah.
So the drive-thrus, I really had to get used to being really efficient and making sure we got everyone through the line and everything. So I kind of took that concept and put it into a home office. And so to get away from my situation, at least for a few minutes each day, I would go over to the neighbor's house and they had their own businesses and they worked from home. So I would help them get organized in their home offices and help them with time management. And most of them had younger kids too. So that's kind of where I started for that. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is so therapeutic. This is so therapeutic. And then I ended up purging 80% of my stuff and just getting rid of that physical clutter gave me the mental space I needed and that and that confidence to just finally leave, because I knew I was meant for more, and my neighbors encouraged me to pursue that.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, as they say.
I love it. I love that you took the courage to do that as well. Although I must say, purging 80% of your belongings makes me really nervous because I'm not a hoarder, but bordering on close when it comes to my Star Wars toys. So yeah. Now we are going to be talking about this concept of time boundaries and flexibility in a schedule. But before we kind of dig into some of the how-tos and things, give us a bit of a definition by what you mean by time boundaries.
Yeah, so essentially it's about knowing what you're prioritizing and why. You're reconnecting with yourself, you know what your goals are and why. And that way you can stay focused and stay on track, and then say no to everything else that doesn't align.
Love
And
that.
it's really important because time is one of your most important assets, and you don't get it back. So it just makes sense. You need to optimize what you have. And we only die once, but we get to live every day. And we need to be able to experience life too.
Love that. There's a couple of elements you just talked about there, which are really important. And I just want to drill down on them for a second. But one of the aspects you talk about there is knowing why you're doing what you're doing and connecting with your why. And that is just so incredibly important because, like you said, if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, if you don't know that your why, then you won't know what is adding value to your business. You won't know what you can let go of. And I love that you said saying no to everything that doesn't align. That is super powerful. Now, the other thing, I think you've covered off an aspect of this anyway, but I just want to ask you from an entrepreneur's perspective, right? We talk about time boundaries and flexibility in the schedule. Why is that so important to us as entrepreneurs?
It can be, we're so passionate about what we're doing and we just turn into workaholics. But the whole point of creating a business is so we can have all this time freedom and do our hobbies and sleep more and travel more. But we're so focused on, we got to check our phones, we got to get back to our clients. We turn into workaholics. It's like, okay, well, what happened to all the other fun you used to have outside of your business? So I want to, like, it's all about experiencing life and not being one of these people on their deathbeds regretting what if.
I love that. I love the fact that when you said checking your phones, immediately, probably everyone did the same thing as me, which is I immediately looked at my phone. I was like, oh, wait, that's a bad thing. Yeah, I love the angle you're taking there as well, because yeah, we do become workaholics. It's one of the kind of jokes about entrepreneurship, really, isn't it? Where everyone says, I'm going to leave my corporate job, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to get all this financial freedom, I'm going to get all this time freedom. And now you've gone from working, 8 or 9 hours a day to now working 24/7, and you don't have the financial freedom that you once had. That's for sure, because you're, worried about when clients are coming in, all this kind of thing, and yeah, trying to build for your future. So I love this. All right, well, we're going to dig into giving some advice around this, because I know a lot of people now listening to this episode are going, okay, I get this, Jennifer. I want that. I want to be able to not just spend all my waking hours of the day working on my business. I want to be able to spend more time with friends, with family, with doing whatever it is that I'm passionate about doing. So how do we go about creating these time boundaries and these flexibilities?
Of course, you start with your why, but as equally important is you got to get clear on where your time goes, and not just your time. Like, we hear a bunch about time audits, but essentially it's just really getting clear on how much time how much time it takes for a task. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. Especially if it's a new thing you've never done before, and that's something we got to get used to, is doing new things, the unknown.
Yeah.
And so we need to track that, and then we get more efficient the more we do it. But something you don't ever really hear about is that your energy levels, your physical and mental energy, adjust throughout the day. That's why some people are morning people, some people are evening people. And I am not one to force you to get up at 5 a.m. if you don't want to. So knowing how your energy levels fluctuate throughout the day, so when you have the most energy, that's the time when you do your tasks that take the most mental or physical energy. And then just knowing when to rest in between and just taking breaks.
Yeah. So how do we then, like, I love this. I love the fact that it's not just tracking your time, because everyone's in corporate's done this before, where you do these time trackers and they're super stressful, and it kind of gives you a false sense that you have to be busy all of the time. But you've brought in that physical and mental energy aspect of that as well. So if we're tracking that, how do we, like, it's very easy to track what we're working on and the time of the day that it is. How do we track that energy? Like, how do we actually record what it is that we're feeling at those moments?
That's actually part of my opt-in for this, for everybody, my free opt-in. So it'll actually help you visually see where your time goes. And then it's more of a ranking system.
Nice.
So someone with chronic illness like me, my energy levels would be different from someone without a chronic illness. In the chronic illness world, we call these spoons. So maybe something like taking a shower would take majority of people only like 1 spoon, let's say.
Yeah.
For me, it might take 2 or 3. So like energy levels are different for different people, depending what's going on and how much you have going on.
Yeah.
So it's your own personal ranking system.
Love that. And we're going to put a link to that, by the way, to the Solo Biz Kit. We're going to put a link to that in the show notes for this episode. So you're going to have to make sure you go to the show notes and download that free Biz Kit, Solo Biz Kit, because yeah, that's going to help you so much to be able to track your energy levels. Love that. All right. So what's the next thing that we should be doing then to basically put these boundaries in place and work out more flexibility?
You've got to prioritize the things that you choose to do. Once you know your why, where your time goes, then it's easier to prioritize and focus on what you want to do. And that also includes adding that flexibility in your schedule, so you're not doing everything all day long.
Yeah. I love
and
this.
Structure doesn't have to be boring. It's not about creating a really strict schedule. It doesn't need to be strict. It doesn't need to be boring. The point of it is to prevent that decision fatigue. That way you know what's going on, but you also have this white space. That way, if something comes up or an opportunity comes up or life happens, you can still shift things around and still meet your deadlines.
Yeah, that's super important. I love what you said there. Prioritize it. There's a couple of things here, actually, I just want to drill on. One of them, you said prioritize what you choose to do. That was, as soon as I heard that, it was like, yes. Because often, this is the challenge we have as entrepreneurs. Often when we put down our to-do list, it's kind of like we're being told what to do, even though it's us telling ourselves what to do. It's like, I have to do this, or even I want to do this. Actually deciding that I choose to do this means you're in control and you're in the power. And that is just a powerful position to come from as an entrepreneur. But the other thing you talked about preventing decision fatigue, but also you talked about the flexibility piece. So how do we go about, and it's going to sound random, but scheduling flexibility? Because you talked about the fact that we're going to connect with the things that we know, connecting with our why. We're going to connect with the things that are really important that we need to be working on. But how do we actually structure that for flexibility? Is that something we build into the calendar, or is that more of a mindset that we have to do?
A little bit of both, but definitely scheduling it into your calendar.
Yeah.
And it can always move around throughout the day. Something I always try to make clear is that whether you have a paper planner or a Google Calendar or whatever you use, I personally cannot write in pen. For me, a pen means it's set in stone. Nothing is set in stone. Things happen. Things can be moved around. And this makes it easier to go with the flow of life. And it's okay to move things around, but you just got to be careful of how much you move things around. You can't just keep putting things off. And if you keep putting things off, then that's a whole other issue you need to look at, pretty much. But you basically just schedule it.
Yeah. So how do we know the difference between, because this is a really good point. So if I look at my calendar, for example, I'll have a pile of things that I need to achieve in the day. Some of those are time fixed. So obviously we're doing this podcast recording that's time fixed because I'm on a call with somebody else. Some of those are just blocks of time where I want to work on my next book or work on, getting something ready to publish or something. But how do we know the difference between allowing ourselves flexibility because of our waning energy levels versus procrastination, or versus us just fearing that if we complete that, we're going to be seen? Or if we complete that, then people can judge us. And so how do we just basically make sure that we're taking the right action based on our energy versus the wrong action based on our insecurities?
Well, that's where self-awareness really comes in. That really helps. And that's also what I help with.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you've got to really be being in alignment, knowing your why, what you really want to achieve. You can have your big vision, but you also got to think about short term as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, think of the white space as time blocking as well. So time block a little bit of time. It can be 15 minutes. It can be an hour.
Yeah.
Each day. Like you start with a little bit and then you build up more, whatever works in your schedule.
Love that. Awesome. This is always the awkward thing being a podcast host, by the way, because you're interviewing people and you've got to be present and focused for them and ask them follow-up questions. But half the time you're learning yourself and you're like, oh my goodness, I just wrote down white spaces going, I need to book in some basically I need to block out white spaces in my calendar. Otherwise it's depressing. I just look at my calendar. It's just full every day. Man, this is cool. All right. Well, before we kind of get into the part of the show where I ask the same question of all my guests, what is the kind of another tip or another process we need to go through to put those time boundaries in place?
Just start saying no more. And this can,
I love that everybody's just got tensed up right now. They're like, wait, saying no more? Tell us more.
Yeah, no is going to be your favorite word. No, but because boundaries teach others how to treat you. And the more you say yes to other people, the more they're going to take advantage of that. And so when you start putting boundaries in place, it's going to feel aggressive. It's going to feel strange and people might not react. But you got to remember their reaction is not your fault. It's just what they're used to and whatever their own beliefs and their stuff they're going through is reflecting onto you. So these boundaries can be part of your contracts, setting office hours, making sure they know when you can get back to them or when they can get in touch with you. So it's making sure, or this is a one-time thing and that's it, and just being very firm about it. And the more you're able to put boundaries in place, the more people are going to respect you.
I love that. I love that I love what you pulled apart there. So actually building it into the contract when you're working with a client, but putting in their office hours, but actually putting the expectation of when you can get back to them. So it's being really clear that, it's not 5 minutes after. In fact, I wasn't a client of mine, but I definitely have had people before where they'll comment on something or they'll send you a message, they'll DM you. And then 5 minutes later, there's a reply DM going, oh, so are you ignoring me now? Or another 5 minutes later going, I really need you to get back to me. It's like, well, first of all, it's a time zone difference and I'm asleep right now. So actually replying to them is really hard when you're asleep. So I love the fact you actually set that expectation up front of how, basically when they can expect to get a reply. This is also, I know there's a whole pile of people making notes right now because I am as well. And for all of you, you know what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to go back and listen to this episode again, aren't you? Because right now you're probably driving like I do when I'm listening to podcasts. You're probably going for a run or going for a walk and it's really hard to make notes. So when you get back to the office, you're going to have to listen to this again, or even better, go to the show notes of this episode, download the free Solo Biz Kit, and then reach out to Jennifer. And I'll put all that in the show notes as well, because she is going to be able to help you with this, because I love what you said at the beginning. We want to get to the point where we can do the things that we love. We want to get to the point where we're not tied to being a workaholic. We're not tied to trying to build this thing. We're building it, but at the same time, enjoying it, which is super important. Oh, man. All right. Well, we are at the point of the show, Jennifer, where I do like to ask the same question of all my guests, which are, what are the 3 practical tips? So the 3 things that you advise everyone listening to this show right now. What are the 3 things they need to do right now to move the needle for their business?
Don't schedule every minute of your day.
Oh,
Add,
come on. Now I've already failed. Yeah. Yep.
add that white space so you can have more flexibility.
Yep.
And make know your favorite new word.
No. See, this is a challenging episode for me because I'm going right now looking at my calendar going, yep, I've booked out every minute of the day. I have no white space in there. And to make it worse, saying no, just that's really difficult when you're a people pleaser like I am. So going to have to
It
get
takes
really
practice.
comfortable with it. Yeah, that's it. We're going to have to practice. I'm going to have to schedule calls with you, Jennifer, just where I just practice saying no all the time, just so we can get good at it. Yeah, awesome. Hey, Jennifer, look, this has been super powerful and super valuable as well, because I know this is something that I struggle with personally. So I know if I struggle with this, everyone listening to this is as well, because they're my audience. I know them well. So yeah, everyone, I'm going to leave, as I said, leave links to everywhere you can connect with Jennifer in the show notes for this episode. So make sure you go to chasingtheinsights.com, look for this episode, and then I want you to click on all the links. Go and connect with Jennifer on social, but more importantly, download that free Solo Biz Kit and get started on giving yourself that freedom, giving yourself the ability to have time boundaries and to have flexibility in your schedule so that you can actually enjoy this ride. Crazy thought, I know. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. Seriously, it's such an honor having you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. Well, as I said, everyone, don't forget to check out the show notes of this episode and just go and click on all the links. You know you want to, you have to, okay? Just go there, click on all those links and connect with Jennifer. But also don't forget to subscribe or follow to this podcast. If you haven't already, just give that button a little push. That way you're notified every single time there's a new episode. And of course, don't forget to check out the Chasing the Insights Insider Club. As I said, great way to support the show, but also a great way for you to get access to exclusive content that is behind the scenes of the podcast. It is masterclasses, downloads, so much more. Go check that out at chasingtheinsights.com/insider. Now, my friend, I want you to pay attention for a moment. Okay. I know you well. I know right now you're all going, oh, I need to go and check out the show notes. I need to go and connect with Jennifer. I need that Solo Biscuit. Yes, you do. But pause for a moment, because I want you to be very, very present for this part. All right. Because I want you to know something that I think is really important. And that is that you are very special. You are an entrepreneur, my friend. And despite the fact that as an entrepreneur, we surround ourselves with all these other entrepreneurs. So we seem to think that everyone in the world's building a business. Everyone's an entrepreneur. The fact is that's not the case. In fact, you are one of a very small percentage of human beings that have the courage, the tenacity, and the passion to birth something new into this world. I mean, think about that for a moment, right? I happen to think that is freaking awesome. You are taking something that doesn't exist. It's a seed, a thought, an idea, and you are calling it into existence. That, my friend, is worth acknowledging. It is worth recognizing on your life. But more than that, it is worth celebrating. So on behalf of both Jennifer and myself, we just want to wish you all of the health, all of the wealth, all of the happiness, all the success, and all of the love that you so rightfully, and I do mean rightfully, deserve. And I want you to do a couple of quick favors for me, right? These are really important. The first of these is really simple. I want you to close your eyes, although if you're driving, maybe don't close your eyes. Maybe pull over and close your eyes. We'll do this when you get home. But I want you to close your eyes and imagine your best ever customer. You know the one. You know the one that every time they DM you, every time they drop you a link or email you or send you an email, every time they do that, you're like, yes, I can't wait to help them. I want you to picture them. I want you to picture the way you talk to them. I want you to picture the way you encourage them, that you empower them. I want you to picture what you do when they succeed and how you celebrate with them. I want you to picture what happens when they hit the wall or when they fall down, how you pick them up, dust them off, stand beside them and say, let's go in this direction. I want you to picture all of those interactions. And then, my friend, I want you to treat yourself the exact same way. You see, the world needs what you're doing, but more than that, it needs more of you in it. So be incredibly kind to yourself, my friend. This roller coaster ride we have of entrepreneurship is crazy at best. So we want you to not only survive that, we want you to thrive that. We want you to build the business that you want, the dream business that gives you that freedom that Jennifer talked about. So keep putting one foot in front of each other. And then this brings me to my second favor I have of you, which is on those times where you do fall down, where you stumble or where you hit the wall, on those days where you get up and go, what the hell am I doing with my life? I can't do this. I can't face the day, or I can't face my clients, or it's just really difficult. On those days, I want you to promise me this. I want you to promise me that you will understand this fundamental truth. And that truth is there are a whole pile of people in this world that genuinely want you to succeed. So reach out to them. Reach out to your coaches and mentors if you've got them. Reach out to your peers. Reach out to friends and family if it's appropriate. Reach out to Jennifer. Reach out to me. We are in your corner and we want you to succeed. As I said, the world needs what you're doing, but more than that, it needs more of you in it. So keep putting one foot in front of each other, my friend. Keep pressing in. Keep being the absolute legend that you are. Now, this is Chasing the Insights. I'm Vince Warnock, and you, my friend, are an absolute legend. Don't ever forget it, and don't you dare let anybody ever tell you otherwise. I will see you in the next episode.